there. We gotta talk about this Blaine situation. Um, the other day, the New York Times put out this amazing article about about the horrendous working conditions at a restaurant in North on an island in Washington State, a very fancy one called the Willows Inn. And I was almost not going to name it because I didn't want to give them any more clout. But the fact is that, like, I want to out them because they're doing so many horrible things. But the other thing about all that is that he is far from the only chef that does that. And this happens in like pretty much every kitchen. Pretty much every restaurant you've ever eaten at does these things. And it's easy to think like, oh, but like Alinea and the French Laundry, they seem so, like these fine dining places seem so civilized in there. They seem like they're really cool. No. It's worse. It's even worse in the fancier ones. I hate to say that it's worse because that makes it seem like the more casual restaurants are like happy-go-lucky kind of places, but no, those places do fucked up shit too. But what I'm trying to get across is that the illusion of niceness when it comes to fine dining restaurants covers up a lot and excuses a lot of terrible behavior and a lot of mental, emotional, and physical abuse that I bet you wouldn't put up with at your place of work. And if you do put up with that stuff at your place of work, that's all the more reason to stand with us in solidarity and say that this is fucked up and we should stop letting it happen. What I'm hoping happens after this article is that I hope more people are willing to come out and talk about their experiences of trauma and abuse in kitchens. I hope we can finally be at a point where people can talk about this stuff and we can acknowledge and declare that this isn't okay. The flip side of that is that when people do feel like they can come out and talk about this stuff, I hope that everybody is accepting and like understanding and at the very least listens to these stories. Okay, I think that's enough of that. The other thing that I wanted to mention about this particular article is that there are people out there who internalized that system, internalized that culture, and believed that that's how things are and that that was the best way for things to be. And as one of those people who truly only recently woke up to the fact that that was so wrong on so many levels and understood finally what it was that I was gaslit into thinking was the right way and that how wrong it all was. I just want to make space and try to include people who are still learning to this day what is going on. Like, there are going to be some people for whom this is the first time that they've realized that that's not okay, that stuff is not okay, that the way, the system that we were all perpetuating for the last however long is not the only way that things need to be. And so I just want to create a space and like maybe offer up some actionable items for people who are seeing what it will hopefully be a lot of fallout and want to contribute to a better future and not perpetuate what was going on in the past. Because here's the thing about Blaine Wetzel, or whatever the fuck his name is. He's not the only one. Every chef that you've heard of in the news because they got so big has done this shit to his staff. They have all eviscerated some poor young line cook or some poor server who did something. Sure, I'm sure they've done stuff wrong, but like, we're met with just the worst. And so that is to say, I can see how he got to be the way that he is now. I can see the environment in which he grew up, where we wrote all about Gordon Ramsay and Anthony Bourdain and joked about how Mario Batali like threw the pan of risotto back at Marco Pierre White. We've all told those stories and we've all like glorified it, and we've all, I mean, maybe you haven't, but like a lot of people have. The thing that is really disturbing about Blaine Wetzel is the way he responded to these allegations by saying stuff like, I can't possibly be racist, my family, blah, blah, or I can't possibly be sexist, look at my wife. These are very low-level answers to subjects of this nature. You can tell from those answers that he has not spent enough time thinking about what sexism is, what racism is, and the system in which he exists and perpetuates. Like, those are novice answers to those questions, and he needs a lot of training. Everybody needs a lot of training and education. And so I don't want to focus on him necessarily, because I think a lot of people would answer that way. Let's maybe talk about ways to heal and move forward, because unfortunately, naming names sometimes, I think anybody else who feels like they want to name names and like burn some shit down, feel free, have at it. You deserve it. Do it. And if anybody feels like they've been abused by me, I'm sorry. Please email me. I'm sorry. Like, for real, I'm sorry. But the thing about calling out, canceling, or even prosecuting individuals is that this is just a symptom of a system at large that is damaging and dangerous for everybody. So I think specifically about how elated everybody was when Harvey Weinstein was finally convicted. Like, even when charges were brought against him, I remember being like, yeah, we got him. And then he was convicted and he was like, fuck yeah, we got him. But did Hollywood, like, learn anything from it? I don't know. I don't think so. Not a lot, certainly. And, recently we saw a police officer, Derek Chauvin, on trial for murder. And he got convicted, which is something that should have happened for sure. But our work is not done. Like, getting the one guy does not fix the system at large. That takes all of us thinking about it in here and wondering what part that we play in that system at large. The good news is that the food industry and restaurant industry and the meat and butchery industry too, like, there's nothing about these industries that inherently make them toxic. Like, you can love food and you can go out to eat and you can make food for a lot of people and you can cut meat in a sustainable fashion without being toxic. Like, none of these things have to be toxic. None of these things have to be abusive. We can choose to make these systems better than they are. And there's already a handful of chefs out there who are doing good work to, like, make the difference. I do feel hopeful because the vast majority of people in these industries are good and wonderful and loving people, and we just happen to work in this environment that has encouraged that kind of terrible behavior. And so I think there are lots of people out there who have been complicit in the past. The good apples standing around while the bad apples are doing their shitty thing. I want to give good apples a couple things to think about and a few actionable steps if you are genuine in your intention to make change for this industry. Lots of ifs, but I think there are people out there. I'm here with you, and so let's talk about it. Let's talk about what you, good apple in the food industry, can do, and good apple in the consumer base, what y'all can do to truly help what is going on here. Number one is that you can acknowledge that there are things that are wrong in our industry. You don't have to take responsibility for them. Not every racist or sexist thing was because of you, but it is good to acknowledge it. Just please say out loud, please acknowledge it publicly also. And yeah, seriously, like acknowledging these things publicly, especially as cishet white men. You guys are the most powerful voices in this discussion because it's your boys, y'all's boys, who are fucking it up. So y'all's voices, if you do in fact want to be considered one of the good apples, you need to speak up about it. You need to call that shit out when it happens. So like, just as simple as, hey, that's kind of fucked up. Hey, I don't really appreciate that. Oh, hey, I actually don't agree with you. And then let the discomfort begin. And yes, it will be difficult and uncomfortable, but like, cry me a fucking river about what is difficult and uncomfortable, okay? And these days, honestly, with all the misinformation out there, conspiracy theories and shit, like, I do need to know where you stand. I would love to see more cis-het white men talking about this stuff, especially those who are in positions of power. I have only seen younger line cooks running pop-ups speak up about this stuff, and I would love to see an established chef talk about this publicly. Even if you did the things, even if you have done these things, it's okay to learn from this moment and be like, oh shit, I'm sorry, that is fucked up. We should not do that anymore. It's okay. It's okay if you did that stuff, as long as you learn from it now and like make genuine change in yourself moving forward. Number two, please hold space in your heart for the desire to make it better and for the hope that it can be better. Just a tiny bit of constant space, just enough so that you don't get frustrated with slow progress and then give up and revert to old abusive ways. Just have like a little bit of hope and don't be cynical about the things that we're asking for. That mentality is how I got into meat and what motivated me to learn more about butchery and sustainability and cooking in general is that I saw a problem. I saw a system that I was participating in that I did not enjoy. I didn't immediately begin a career in that industry, but I did constantly have room in my brain and room in my heart for, first of all, the knowledge and acknowledgement of, hey, this shit's wrong, and two, for the hope that things could be better and the desire to do my part to make things better. So like, maybe those things seem difficult, but like, I'm telling you from my personal experience, you can do better and you can make a difference. And then number three is to listen. Don't demand answers or proof of any of these things from anybody. Just listen. While people are coming out with this information about the abuses and traumas that they've experienced in kitchens, don't demand answers from them, like that fuckwad who slid into my DMs about my Eater article. Don't undermine them with statistics or your experience, like your anecdotes. Just listen. This isn't a time for you to sound witty. This is a time for you to learn. And I feel like those are doable. I'm doing them. I'm in the process of doing them. I'm definitely learning these things and like trying to unpack that learned behavior and culture for myself. And after that, it's up to you to then stay motivated and engaged with these causes, and educate yourself in ways that don't burden your friends, colleagues, acquaintances, anybody who's been in a marginalized community. Don't burden them with your education. Like, we all have the internet, we all got Google, we're all on Instagram and Facebook. You can do the Google search, you can download the audiobook, you can listen to the podcasts. You need to make time for it for yourself and not demand that the nearest person of color explain this shit to you. It is exhausting. It is exhausting. And to be honest, if you can't give that tiny amount of effort for this cause, then I think you need to admit to yourself and to the rest of us that you don't give a fuck. That you're happy with your privilege and you want it to stay that way, and that you are the same as those assholes who stormed the Capitol on January 6th. Like, just own it. Just own it then. But I guess what I'm trying to do is encourage y'all to come along with us in a way that is sustainable for you and your heart and your mind, and that will bring more people along to a progressive and equitable future. Yeah, and I do encourage you to keep going on. And to anybody else who has experienced trauma and abuse in the food industry or any industry, you don't deserve it. You didn't deserve to be belittled. You didn't deserve to be abused. And I think you are wonderful. So anyway, that's it for me today. Christina here at Butchery 101. Hit like and subscribe. I don't fucking know. Bye, y'all. Thank you.